Hello everyone, Simon here. Welcome back to the architecture of Cyberpunk 2077. In this video, we are going to walk around the district of Arroyo. Arroyo is to the south of Vista Del Rey. Let me just show you the map. So here's the city, right? Arroyo is this district here. It's an industrial district next to the main island of the city. And already we can see a Petrochem facility over there, right? Get to that later. Let's go, let's walk around. So Arroyo, it's mostly megacorps. As we walk around, you see that the megacorps have each established their facilities in Arroyo. Some are more developed than others. I'm not sure if there are any independent industries in Arroyo. Maybe there's some, but can't really tell. They're not labeled very well. First up, we have this thing. It's not really clear what this is, huh? Well, this is the back of the prison. Night City does have a prison. The prison is maybe smaller than you'd expect, given the amount of crime. But actually, most criminals don't make it to prison. They don't get arrested, they get shot. So, the prison doesn't have to be very big, because the cops don't take prisoners. It's a big wall. There are some guard towers here and there. I believe there is a front gate here. Right here, NC Prison, there it is. Night City Prison, there's the front door. Heavy security. And not many ways to get inside, although we do have the power of parkour. Which... I mean, how do we feel about this? Probably not, right? No, probably not. Nope. Alright, not that one. There are some places where we can climb up and over. And we continue running around. There's a big tower there. Not sure what that is. Could be solitary confinement, or it could just be the administrative tower. It looks futuristic. Oh, I guess I should talk about the panopticon, huh? Maybe I should find the Wikipedia article on this. Hold on, let me set this up. The panopticon is a concept by... what's his name? Panopticon... Let's see, Jeremy Bentham. That one... Panopticon. So the panopticon, the concept is there's a central guard tower, or there's a central guard post, and then there's cells all facing towards the guard post. And the idea is that from the guard post, from the center, you can see all the criminals, or all the inmates, and none of the inmates are able to hide from you, right? And the idea is that visibility gives you power, and so being able to see everything all at once gives you power over the prisoners. So here we have like a guard, the guard's in the middle, and the guard sees into the cells. So this is one concept for prison designs, and to an extent it is useful, like having the guard and having like good visibility is important for security. If anything goes wrong, the guard can see it very quickly, and there's not a lot of places for the prisoners to hide because the guard can see the whole space. But visibility is only part of the problem, right? If there is a prison riot, being able to see the riot doesn't really help you stop the riot. So I mean, this solves the observation problem. but it doesn't really solve the entire security problem. And then there's a whole lot of other stuff here, a lot of criticisms and use as a metaphor. So this idea of a surveillance state, like watching everybody. Anyway, Panopticon. I pointed this out because of the circular shape, right? Let me go back into the game. So when you have a prison and you see a circular shape, you think about maybe it's a panopticon, right? Maybe this thing is you have cells around the outside and you have a prison guard in the middle and the guard watches everybody from the central point. But as we said, it helps with surveillance, it doesn't help with riots. Like if the prisoners get out of control, you still need a lot of guards to bring them back into control. Alright, let's keep going. We do have a bridge across the road here, and the prison continues over there, so those look like cell blocks. I mean, if these are high security cell blocks, then these will be low security cell blocks, right? Or maybe even other facilities. Classrooms, some prisons have factories, and mess halls, places like that. What the hell's going on back there? So we have that facility there, and that building there, connected by a bridge. And we do have a lot of blocks here. These look like cell blocks. Small windows. Windows should be too small for the prisoners to fit through. There is a yard, and there's a bunch of guys in the yard, right? Although, see, no, this is not good. This fence, not good. Because if I have contraband, I can just chuck it through the open gaps in the fence, and a guy on the inside can catch it. So a prison walls would not be like this. There will be two high walls, and there'll be a gap big enough in between them that's difficult to throw something across. And the guard towers will be watching both walls and the gap at all times. So if somebody tries to throw something into the prison, they'll see it. So here we can see that there is... Oh, let's not get too close. There is an outer wall and an inner wall, right? So there is that gap, there's two walls, there's a gap. But it's way too close. I can just like chuck something in there. And not just contraband, but like guns. Imagine like I drive up with it in a truck and just have a bunch of guns. I just start chucking guns in the prison, and then there's a prison riot. And so this is a nowhere near enough security for a prison. Like not even close. We have a couple of blocks. Let me just look around here. Yeah, no, it's just big prison block. Slick grey concrete, not much to see on the outside. Over there, that's not the prison, by the way, that's the Petrochem facility. But I find it very interesting that the Petrochem facility and the prison, the walls are the same design. Not sure what that means. See, like, look at that wall, look at this wall, it's the same design. I don't know if it means that the prison is run by Petrochem. I don't know if it means that the prisoners are, you know, being used as labor in the Petrochem facility. We have a traffic light here. I'm gonna... well, what's that one? Oh, there you go. So you stand on the traffic light, and this allows us to see inside, right? Although, because we're not supposed to see inside, there's not much to see, actually. If I go in there, I don't want to... If I go in there, I'm gonna get shot at. What do you mean, like... Oh. Dive across. So here there's not much to see because we're not supposed to be in here, right? There's the circular building. And then there's a block there. I think that's services. That's probably the back door where the trucks come into the food and stuff. And then we have some basketball courts over there. I don't want to get too close because if the guards see me, they're gonna start shooting at me. I think there's some basketball courts here. Right, so there's more prison yard. Not sure about this. I don't think those are prison blocks, because you don't see the like the windows don't look like they belong in cells. Those look like warehouses. So I think that's a service block. Usually the prison yards will be near the prison blocks. You have the prison will be divided into blocks, and each block would have their own yards, and that keeps the prisoners separated, right? And it's important to be able to keep the prisoners separated, because, like, you know, gangs happen, prison gangs happen. So if the prisoners start to get organized, you need to split them up and put them in the different blocks, so they don't get too organized. So yeah, not sure why the yards are there. That doesn't really make sense. There are yards there, but those are too small for those blocks. I mean, if there was like one block there and then yards, and then another block here and then yards, that would make more sense. Like having each block be next to their yard. Alright, back out. So that's the NC prison, and then over there is the Petrochem facility. We can't go in there either, unless we parkour.
Don't walk. Don't walk.
But parkouring in doesn't really show us anything, because we're not supposed to be in here, right? So there's not much detail in here actually, because we're not supposed to see this. Up here we have these slightly triangular buildings. No idea what they are. Some kind of factory, I guess. So the distillation process for turning crude oil into petrochemicals. The distillation is vertical, so you have like tall things, kind of tubes, where the distillation happens in an oil refinery. So like tall shapes kind of is reminiscent of that. But I've said before, like in the world of Cyberpunk, they don't burn oil anymore. They've run out of oil, they burn a kind of biofuel. And it's a fictional biofuel, so we don't know how that's made. So we have no idea if the shapes of these buildings actually matches the industrial process. There's some big tanks here and a lot of open space, so I can't really read any of this. And again, you're not supposed to see this, because we're not supposed to be behind the wall. The giant buildings are completely blank, of course, as with most megacorp architecture. Completely opaque and unreadable. You have no idea what's going on. Out on this side we have the car park for the facility. Not many cars. The buildings are numbered, right? 1, 2, and 3. No labels. I mean, we probably shouldn't try to read too much into it, because a lot of this is just decoration, right? It's not a gameplay area, so it's just a part of the city that's supposed to serve as the backdrop. So it doesn't really say very much. Although it would be a lot more interesting if it actually was some kind of refinery, and you could see the refinery process in the machinery. Like, if you could read it, that'd be so interesting. But if you can't read it, I don't really blame them, because it's not that important in the game. Okay, let's get back out of here. There's really nothing to see in here. Getting out is a bit harder than getting in. I need to find a way to jump up and out. I think I can do it here. Oh, there's a mega block there. Mega block number 6, and there's mega block number 7 there, I believe. 2 mega blocks close together, but that one is in the next district, in Rancho Coronado. And then there's another mega block there. I mean, the implication is that a lot of people work in the industrial district, right? If there's so many mega blocks so close together. But if you look around, you don't see many workers actually in the facilities. You gotta wonder whether they actually employ people. Like, how automated are these factories? Can't really tell. I think this is not real geometry. Yeah, no, that's not real geometry. Just wondering, do I get on that roof? Right, if I do that... Oh no. Okay. Get up here, and then we hop across this. And we're out. Except that a sandstorm is rolling in, it looks like. Alright, let me see if I can pass the time. It's gonna be a while. Alright, I'm gonna pause the video here, it's gonna take a while. The sandstorms last a long time in this game. Alright, see you in a bit. Alright, we're back. We have Megabuilding H6 here. We can't go inside. And the entrance is more or less the same as all the other ones. Let's see what kind of people are around here. I guess these people work in the factories. There's not that many shops down here, right? There's one little thing he's selling. What are these? Taco. Oh hey, can we go in? Wait a minute. No, we can't. So not much going on here. Around the back of the mega building, there's a bit of a public space, I think. Let me run around here. Check this out. Back here we have a car park, vending machines, a few shops, but they don't seem to be open. It's not very good, is it? I mean, look, a mega building, everyone should have some public space outside, maybe a park, maybe a square, maybe some shops. I mean, this one kinda does, but not really. It's pretty dead. I wonder if anyone even lives here. Because there's just not that many people. There's no cars, first of all. And there's not that many people. Maybe they're all working. Maybe they're not allowed holidays. Okay, let's continue walking around Arroyo. Out here we have some factories. No signage, so we don't know what exactly these things are. There are big pipes there. And big chemical tanks of some sort. I mean, the Petrochem facility is right there. Maybe this is also part of the Petrochem facility. There's some sort of chemical thing going on, right? There's the... Is that a distillation stack? Something. I mean, it looks like it's some sort of fuel. But we're not really sure, right? So the spherical tank is probably a pressurized gas. The cylindrical tanks are probably a liquid. But as to exactly what it is, we don't really know. Let me cross the road. Just vaguely industrial stuff. Industrial backdrop. There's no security. I mean, there's kind of walls, but not really. Usually you keep people out, right, because of security concerns. Alright, no idea what those are. There are big pipes up there. Right, back towards the river. We have a bit of a commercial area here. There's a burger place. And then other shops. Maybe this is where people go for lunch when they work in the factories. They come out for a burger, maybe. Oh, a hotel. Check it out. Let's take a look. Car park. A vertical car park. What does the hotel look like? It's pretty budget, huh? I wonder if it's like a hotel or if it's budget accommodation. Well, there's the hotel. Further up we have a gas station, or a chew station. Let's check out the signage. So, Chew, CHOOH2, that's the name of the biofuel. Regular, 480, is that what it says? Ultra, 498. Premium, 517. Plus 532. Gasoline, wait a minute, there's gasoline? Gasoline is 1,590. Gasoline cars still exist apparently. I thought they ran out of gas. No, they didn't run out of gas. It's just super expensive. There's still gas. It's just really, really, really expensive. Interesting. Well, I mean, if there's still gas... I was assuming that none of these are gas storage and refineries. But maybe there is still gas. Maybe some of this is gas. Anyway, there's no cars here, not really. No idea what that is. And that doesn't even look so. It says 24/7, but we can't go inside. Alright, so that's the gas station. Over there, there's the big bridge over from Vista Del Rey. And remember, Vista Del Rey, there's like a continuous line of corpo buildings with sky bridges linking all the way back to Corpo Plaza, right? So the corpos, they built their way all the way down here, and then it stops here. It doesn't continue that way. I'm not sure what they plan to do with all this, because they get out here, it's not like it's safe for them here, right? Maybe it is safe for them here. Little surprised that they don't continue bridging all the way into their facilities. For example, Petrochem is there, right? Why don't they continue bridging all the way into the Petrochem buildings? Who knows? Maybe that's for the future. For now, this is where it stops. And interestingly, there's power lines up there. The power lines go into that building, and then it goes into the interior, right? So on one side we have a big corpo outpost. On the other side we have a bunch of small shops. Oh, that one's in business, selling food. So it looks like these guys are doing okay. It looks like there's enough business for these... or there's enough money around here for these businesses to stay in business. And it's not much of it. Let me walk around the corpo part here. Check out what's down here. Oh, hey, they've built themselves a nice little pedestrian area too. There's a food place. What's he selling?
Do I know
burgers
you?
and fries? He's selling burgers and fries. Nice little place by the riverside. Although the river is brown and not very pleasant. The big corpo thing, there are doors down here. I don't know if they ever actually come out here, the corpos. Oh, and back there, look at that. There's pipes bridging across as well. So there's electricity going on up there. There's pipe going across there. I think they like pipe their own resources through into Corpo Plaza from here is what it implies. like these things.
Hey, no pushing. There's enough for everyone. All brand new.
Back up the other side. Notice these giant pipes going across. The pipes point over in that direction. Keep that in mind. Alright, continuing through here, we have some vaguely industrial things. And then down here, what is this? Is this all foods? What is this? Nothing? We have a bit of a container yard here. There's a crane up there to move the containers. Is this like a truck port or what? No trains, right? No trains that I can see. Trucks? But where do the trucks go? Here? Maybe here. And then they drive out that way. There's no... I mean, that pipe goes down there. Not sure where that goes. I mean, there's containers here, but I'm not sure like where they go. Where do they come from and where do they go? Right, the big pipes continue. And the big pipes point towards that building there. That one. Can I step back, take a look at it? DTR, there's a big towering structure back there. Let me get around these pipes. So these pipes and the tanks are all connected, right? DTR back there. DTR is a transport company. And this giant structure, I believe, is a landing platform. A landing platform for one of those giant transports. So all the pipes go into this building, and maybe some of those flying transports are big tankers, and they're carrying the fuel. You know, that give coming in, picking up fuel from the big DTR building. At least that's what it looks like, right? All these pipes point into that direction. There's all these tanks. So there's a lot of storage for whatever fluids are inside this stuff. And then they all go into there, and a big landing platform over there. I think that's what that is. That's what it looks like, at least. Very cool. I mean, it's a little bit bigger than it's necessary, right? Like, why does it need to be that big? Like, there's no reason why the big flying transports can't land on the ground. They don't have to land up there. They could just... because they just fly, right? But anyway, it looks cool. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of vaguely industrial looking stuff, and it's not clear what any of it does, or why it needs to be that big. But it looks awesome. And then there's another one right there. So there's one big DTR platform there, and another one there, right next to each other. What's going on down here? Another little bit of commercial area, Kenmore Diner. Right. Let's continue running through. What's going on out here? Let me just take a look. There is a nice little pedestrian plaza around here, but it is an industrial district. Oh, it's a car park, it's not really a plaza. Car park, some shops. But nobody lives nearby. People work nearby, I guess. Up here, another DTR platform. In the game, we never actually see... Ah! That guy did it on purpose. He saw me. Alright. In the game, we never actually see the flying transports dock into any of the big buildings. So it's only speculation, right? I've never seen it happen, but it looks like a landing platform with that. There's a big flat bit up there. Just trying to find one of these big things. No, there's nothing here. Let me step back a little bit. Get a better angle on this. Ah, oh, the sandstorm's coming in again. So there's the DTR thing. Alright, let me try and find some clear weather again. See you in a bit. Alright, and we're back. So that's as much as we can see. I think there's a crane up there, that thing. So there might be a crane up there. This might be a cargo platform, although I don't know how to get the cargo up there if it is. Maybe it's a big... Maybe there's a big elevator inside the big building here. What is that? Is it like fuel? Fuel tanks for the big flying transport? I don't know how heavy this building is. It doesn't look strong enough. Not enough legs, maybe. Okay, let's keep going. It's all science fiction. And it's not clear how we should interpret this giant thing. The building does have ground floor entries though, look at this. I guess there's some offices on the side. And there is an entrance here. So DTR does interact with the street a little bit. Unlike some of the other megacorps, right? Continuing around, there's some warehouses. I'm not sure this is being used. It looks kind of abandoned, but who knows? The lights are on. More warehouses. The lights are on, so maybe it's not abandoned. Doesn't look like there's too much business though, does it? Doesn't seem like there's very much going on. And then out here, this is the edge of the district. Over there is Pacifica. We're not going to go over there. We're going to turn down and come back into Arroyo. Another mega tower there. It says no entry. I think there's a biohazard incident going on in there. Get another angle on this DTR thing. DTR platform. Very cool. Giant industrial machinery. Again, not sure why it has to be hanging in the air like that. Why can't it just be sitting on the ground, right? Could be a regulatory thing. Like what kind of regulatory thing might it be? Maybe the big transports are too dangerous to be close to the ground. Maybe the way the anti-gravity works, it interferes with things on the ground. So they have to like lift it up to make sure they don't blast away all the stuff on the ground, maybe? I don't know. Maybe they make too much noise, maybe there's some laws against flying those things too low. And so they have to put the landing platforms higher up to comply with those laws. Maybe that's what it is. Because, you know, there's no physical reason why it shouldn't work. But again, it's fictional, right? It's fictional anti-gravity technology, so who knows how it works. We'll notice that these surrounding buildings are quite low, right? There's no skyscrapers nearby. So maybe that is it. Maybe you need to keep a lot of distance between the anti-gravity drives and the other buildings. And maybe that massive thing is just reinforced. You know, like airports need a lot of space around them. Because if there's any accident, the plane's gonna plow into the ground, and you want the surrounding area to be clear in case that happens. Down here we have a bit of a market.
Hey, wait!
So there's a mega block back there, right? And as we said, under every mega block there's usually some public space and a market. So here the manufactory is what they call it. There's a little market. It looks like it used to be a car park, or it used to be like a container yard, and they've been... Well, no, the manufactory itself is an old factory, I guess, and they've turned it into a market. Some makeshift stores out here. And then inside the factory space they set up more stores. That's kind of cool. So an old factory. I guess this factory is too old. It's too small, right? So instead of tearing it down and building a new one, they turned it into a market.
But I don't want to go there. It really is. Your friends are free.
Market on this side, and then on the other side we have some sort of hotel. Let me go around the front of it.
Look, Chum, I'm telling you, I'm clean.
That says Las Palapas
You're
Motel.
still clean, then?
It's
Back in action.
containers. So I guess these are prefabricated container units that have been stacked up into a motel. Not sure how sensible that is. I guess it's relatively cheap to build. But not sure if this thing lasts very long. Because it's not... It looks temporary. Right? It looks like it's meant to be temporary accommodation. It says motel. And I'm just wondering, like, who lives here and why? So maybe these flying transports, if we assume that this is above us, this thing is one of these landing pads for a, or landing platforms for a flying transport. Maybe the transport comes in and the crew stays overnight, and then the next morning they fly out again. So maybe that's what this is. Like, you know, in an airport, there'll be hotels near the airports, and the air crews sometimes will just stay in the hotels when they're not scheduled to fly out right away, right? They have, you know, maybe half a day, so they get to sleep. So maybe that's what this is. Maybe the crews come in, they get a rest, and then they fly away again. It's not luxury, obviously. It's very modest accommodations. Oh, there's an end card station here. What does that say? Wallison Street? Alright, how far away is Megabuilding 4? Should we go down there and take a look at the entrance while we're here? Yeah, we should. Alright, so we're going down there. What is this? What is it? Before I go down there. Some kind of factory? What is Caro? No idea what this is. Some kind of industrial facility. Alright, Megabuilding 4 is in lockdown. Let's go around to the entrance. Oh, look at this. So this highway is under construction here. And if we look over there into the distance, there's more construction sites. So the city is expanding out here. And, well, actually, no. The city might be expanding out here. The problem is we don't see any actual construction going on. There's half-finished highways, but nobody's working on it. And there's not a lot of machinery either. So maybe they were going to build a highway extension out here, and then they paused. Although, having said that, if you pause construction, you shouldn't just leave that stuff like that. Things like the reinforcing steel, if you leave that out in the open, it's going to start to rust. And once it starts rusting, it's useless, right? It becomes brittle and there's no strength left. And so if you really shouldn't leave half-finished buildings for a long time, because by the time you come back, there might be enough damage to the partially constructed stuff that it becomes useless, and you have to break it, take it all down, and start again, right? Especially like reinforcing steel. The point of reinforced concrete is the steel provides tensile strength. The concrete provides compressive strength, and it also protects the steel from any moisture. So the steel really only works if it's encased in concrete. If it's not fully encased in concrete, it's gonna rust and it's gonna destroy the whole thing. So like that, you probably shouldn't leave that just sitting around. If you like have to abandon construction, you need to figure out how to protect that. Usually people don't abandon construction. They either finish it or they don't. But they don't leave things halfway. Alright, down here at the entrance. Caution, bow hazard. What is happening in this mega building? Alright, there's some sort of biohazard crisis going on in there.
Don't provoke her!
Probably a plague. Some kind of contagious disease. Everybody's dying inside. Alright, moving this way. Oh look, we have a pedestrian bridge crossing over the road. That's convenient. I guess we're close to the mega building, so they make it a little bit better for pedestrians in this area. Although it seems a little enormous just to do this. I mean, this is like a on-ramps onto the freeway, right? Seems extremely elaborate. Why would pedestrians walk down there? I mean, there's... Oh, wait a minute. Is that a sidewalk? The sidewalk continues? Really? Well, I guess it does. How far does that go? Okay, hold on, let me just look at this. Does this go all the way to Rancho Coronado? Yes, it does. Look, there's another bridge across there. Fascinating. You know, usually when you have a big freeway interchange like we do here, usually you don't have also pedestrians. But here they do. Interesting. I mean, it's a long way, right? It goes... So, Rancho Coronado, all the way down there, it's a residential area. So in theory, you can walk from there all the way to these factories and go to work. Walk to work. It's a big distance though, so I'm not sure how practical that is. And like, there's nothing in between. It's just freeways. So it's not like there's like shops, schools and businesses or anything. No, there's none of that. It's a whole lot of nothing as you walk a long distance. So I'm not sure how practical that is. Alright, we're gonna come down here. There's more chemical tanks. Let me just check. Nothing there. Chemical tanks and whatever that is. Like, is that a refinery stack? Distillation stack? Who knows? Who knows what this stuff is? Black warehouses? Is there a label? I think there is a label. Can I get across here? Ah! Alright, there's a logo on the front door, right? SciTech, okay. So this is a SciTech facility. Let's not go inside, there's guards. Let's jump back out before they get mad at me. Some sort of high-tech factory. We're at the back of the DTR platforms, right? So there's one there, there's one here. More giant pipes going that way. And there's more tanks down there. I mean, it looks like all these things are part of the same complex. There's some sort of chemical refining going on, and then it gets transported on these platforms, right? Like the tubes all go into the tanks in there, for example. Maybe. So the giant DTR platforms, there's like an office tower on one side, and then the industrial platform on the other side. And it's all joined together. Is there a front door down here or no? I think there is. It's pretty small though. Alright, so there's a ground level entrance there. Doesn't look like it's very often used. Maybe it is. It's kind of clean. Alright, so there's the front door. Next up we have a construction site. So this is interesting, we get to see construction methods and materials. What do we have? Big steel columns. And then concrete walls inside. Or is this just scaffolding? Is this temporary scaffolding on the outside and the actual main structure is the steel columns and the concrete?
Don't give up!
Maybe the frame is temporary. The floors are steel holding up concrete slabs, it looks like. Although those are just clamped together, so maybe that's also temporary. Maybe the framing is just the formwork holding up the concrete. Cranes?
No justice, no mercy.
And then back there we have something with pipes. So it's some sort of vertical industrial thing. Let me step back a bit. Yeah, no, maybe all the steel stuff is just scaffolding. It's heavy duty scaffolding, but maybe that's because there's a lot of heavy stuff being lifted up there. Alright, so the steel stuff on the outside is scaffolding. On the inside, there's the concrete and steel structure with pipes all over it. No idea what the pipes are, but... Oh, and there's a massive crane here. This thing. I've talked about this before, right? This thing does not fit on the back of a truck. So you can't truck this around, you have to use a flying barge probably. Or you have like a giant truck, but you wouldn't do that. You have to like close the entire road just to move this thing around. So this thing is not practical for city use is what I'm trying to say, because it doesn't fit on the streets. It doesn't fit on the back of a truck. That fits on the streets. But in Cyberpunk we have flying vehicles, so maybe like one of those giant flying things come in and they pick this thing up, in which case you don't have to worry about putting it on a truck. But even if you do that, why do you need this? Because you have cranes here, right? You have static cranes, and the static cranes do a fine job. So this thing doesn't really do anything that the static cranes don't do, if we are just talking about construction site. Like this thing, like it's so big, it just takes up the whole space. Why does it need to be this big? There's not enough space here for it to work. Like if it swings around, it will knock the whole building over. There's no reason why you need a giant crane here. It doesn't make any sense. Like if it drives forward, it will knock the pipe. If it swings around, it'll demolish the building. So like this is crazy, right? Doesn't make any sense. And you can't drive out. You have to like move all this stuff just to drive this thing out. So next to the big tower with all the pipes, we have another smaller building. This one we have... This looks like precast concrete. So the columns are precast concrete, and then in between the columns you bolt the steel beams, and then on the steel beams you have the concrete floor. Oh, that's what that looks like. Which is okay, except that I think we need more columns in the middle. That's a really big span, and I don't think this concrete should be strong enough. So if we have a few more columns in the middle and then maybe some beams, I would believe this. As it is, I don't really believe this structure. It doesn't look like there's enough support in the middle. I don't know what this stuff is. Alright, so steel beams, right? If you want to move these around, you need a crane, because like a guy can't lift this. Maybe if they have cybernetics. But in our world, if you don't have cybernetics, a guy can't just pick up a steel beam to move it around. So you need a crane to move this around. But now that you've put the floor in, you can't fit the crane in here anymore. See what I mean? So usually the piles of steel will be outside the building, they'll be out here, where the crane can turn around, pick up the beam, and then bring it over the building. That's how that usually works. You don't keep the piles of heavy beams inside the building, because the crane can't reach here anymore. So that's not how this works. This is not how a construction site works. Like, you can have bags of cement in here, you can have like concrete blocks in here, you can have smaller things in here that people can move around. Or maybe like a forklift can move around, or like wheelbarrows. Forklifts, wheelbarrows, dudes, you can like fit all these things in here. But a big crane, you can't fit in here. So this stuff, you can probably use a forklift. So this is okay, having this under the floor there. Because a forklift can pick this up. A forklift can't really pick these up. Maybe they can. I don't think so. Maybe one at a time. That looks really heavy though, I'm not sure. And it's super dangerous because it's like wide. If you're like off balance, the whole forklift falls over. Alright, coming out here, those look like temporary site offices. These things. So these are offices that you can put on the back of a truck and drive away. That's what these look like. So a site office often is going to be something you just bring on a truck, put on the ground, and then when the construction project is finished, you take the whole thing away, along with all the containers and whatnot. Alright, so that's the construction site there. Over there, there's a Kang Tao building. Look at that. Kang Tao logo on top of this little factory. It's kind of small, isn't it? It's kind of small and not very cool. So maybe, I was thinking maybe this is an expansion of the Kang Tao facility, because Kang Tao is one of the big megacorps, right? There's the big 5 megacorps in Night City, and Kang Tao is one of them. And this facility is way too small for a corporation the size of Kang Tao. So maybe they're just moving in, and maybe they're expanding there. maybe. Possibly. Like, this is a tiny building. This is not a megacorp building. This is like a mini-corp building. And a lot of this looks like it's under construction too. Look at this. There's scaffolding, there's containers. So maybe Kang Tao is just moving in, getting themselves set up. Maybe eventually they'll have a much bigger facility over here. Right, continuing this way. And I guess let's look at the Kang Tao building again. Yeah, no, it's just concrete. Not impressive. And not very big. I mean, maybe that's part of Kang Tao as well, who knows? Next up, over here, back there, that's also a high security area, so I'm not gonna get too close to it. But there's some sort of electrical substation back there. I think in the game it calls it a power plant. But it doesn't look like a power plant, right? So this thing, I think the game calls this a power plant. That thing there. Can I climb one of these roads? Maybe we can get across here. This thing? It doesn't look like any power plant that I'm aware of. Unless it's some kind of fuel cell power plant. Okay, so what's the problem with power plants? In our world, power plants are usually thermal power plants. It means that you burn some kind of fuel to generate heat, and you use the heat to boil water into steam, and then you use the steam to drive turbines, and the turbines drive a generator, and that's how you turn fuel into electricity, right? It's a thermal power plant. So this, because there's no cooling tower, it doesn't seem to generate a lot of heat. So if it is a power plant, it's not a thermal power plant. It could be a fuel cell based power plant. A fuel cell is it converts chemical energy directly into electrical energy using a catalyst. In our world, fuel cells exist. I don't think there are large-scale fuel cell power plants. Hydrogen fuel cells and other fuel cells, the catalysts are expensive. I think we currently use platinum for hydrogen catalysts. It's part of the reason why hydrogen fuel is so expensive, is because it's platinum, and platinum is expensive. There can be other catalysts. I'm not an expert on this, but I don't think the efficiency is as good as the platinum. But we have scientists working on it, right? So maybe this is some kind of fuel cell thing? I don't know. The game calls it a power station. But to me, it looks more like some sort of substation with transformers. It's also not very big, like compared to the size of this other stuff. The size of the power plant is not that big. And there's a lot of industry here, right? Like if you assume that the power plant is powering all this industry, it would need to be much bigger than this, I would imagine, to generate enough electricity. So no, it looks more like a substation. I'm not sure I buy the fact that it's a power plant. Okay, moving on. So over here towards the south, I'm just trying to cross the road without being run over. Over on this side we have a sprawling Arasaka facility. So the Arasakas have a whole industrial park over here, and it's all walled off, so you're not allowed inside. But we're not gonna let a little thing like that stop us, are we? see how high I can jump. No, not quite. I think I can do this. No? Okay, let me try and remember how I got up there. I have gotten up there before. Maybe this? Alright, parkour! Well, almost. Ah! Okay, it is a hostile area. Hostile area, so let's try not to fall down, because there's gonna be guards down there, I believe. So Arasaka, as usual, the whole thing is surrounded by an impenetrable wall. And then inside they have their own city, basically. They have internal roads and whatever these facilities are. This is the same model as the prison block on the other side of Arroyo. I don't think Arasaka runs a prison over here. Not sure what's going on with that. The dishes, they look like they're supposed to be satellite dishes, but if they are satellite dishes, they would point at the satellite and not spin around all the time. I don't know why they're spinning around like that. That's not how communications work, right? Yeah, I don't know why they keep spinning around like that. So a radar would be spinning around, but that's not, it's pointing up, so it's not a radar. It looks like a satellite dish, but satellites don't move that fast, right? Satellite is just kind of, it's just in the sky, especially if it's, you know, geostationary. If it's a geostationary satellite, it's just in the one point in the skies, and you don't move the dish. I don't know what's going on there with the spinning dish like that. Okay, let's try and look around the Arasaka complex. Uh-oh. Let's try not to get shot at too. There's a bit of a... Oh, wrong button. There's a bit of a river channel in between the two parts of the Arasaka facility. Yep, walk over here. So there's a bridge, right? There's a bridge over the river channel. The river channel is not a part of the facility. If you look over there, it turns that way, and then way in the distance, there's a dam, right? So I think the dam, there used to be a river, and the water used to flow from the valley down the river channel, and then into the river system, maybe. But since it's been dammed, the water doesn't flow anymore, so now there's no water in the river channel. I think that's what that is? Who knows? But this river channel does line up with the dam, if you kind of look at it. Alright, let me try and figure out these buildings if we can. These Arasaka buildings back here. I mean, there's really nothing we can read. There's a little bit of a loading bay there, where the trucks are, and then all these buildings are just black boxes that we can't see into. There's a road down there, right? Oh, let's try not to fall down. Internal road, and then just big black rectangles. Oh, security guards. This is why I say you don't want to fall down there, because you're gonna get shot at if they see you. Solar panels on the roof, that's interesting. It doesn't look like there's enough solar panels to run a whole factory this big, but maybe this is just for emergency power. I mean, a factory this big with actual machines would use a lot of electricity. We can't get over there without falling down. Let's not be too adventurous. Right, getting to this side. There's the river channel down there. There's pipes bridging across, linking the two halves of the Arasaka facility. A lot of tanks. Some sort of chemical tanks. I mean, we can't read any of this. It's just big black boxes, and again, it's on purpose. Arasaka architecture is deliberately opaque, so you can't tell what it is. There is a big tower over there, so I guess that's the local offices. And then over here is the industrial stuff. There's also like a guard tower, look at that. Oh, that's a very distinctive guard tower shape with the windows looking down. Don't know why they need a guard tower in a factory. I guess it's high security stuff. Oh, oh, I almost fell down. I didn't look before I jumped. That's kind of cool, look at that. You have those shapes leading out a little bit. Very industrial, but also very mysterious. You have no idea what those are supposed to be. Looks a little like heat sinks. A little bit. Impossible to know what it is. Big power lines going through here. And then we have this. Let me just check the road side. So the road is back there. That comes through here. Is there a gate? I think there's a gate in here. And then as we come over this way, we get into this place. So here we have a bit of a logistics area. This part is a lot more detailed because it is a major gameplay area in the main story of the game. During the game, the story is we have to infiltrate the Arasaka facility. We go into those warehouses in there. So to get past all the security out here, get into the warehouses. So this is much more detailed, right? There's a lot more detail here because it is a part of the gameplay. And there's a gate there, there's a gate there. And the trucks come in there, they load and unload in the loading bays, and then they drive back out, right? So that's the path. And then around the sides there are a lot of landing pads for aerial vehicles, these things. Right, these Arasaka logos on the flying cars. Not too sure what the flying cars do. There doesn't seem to be any accommodation for loading cargo, right? There's no ramps, there's nowhere for forklifts to move crates inside the flying cars. So maybe the flying cars are only for personnel. It doesn't look like there's any cargo loading onto the flying cars. The only cargo loading is gonna be down there. So you have containers, right? Containers. And then back there we have garage doors. The doors open, you put the containers into the warehouse. And the security tower, watching everything down here to make sure nothing's going wrong. And then some chemical tanks, maybe that's fuel for the flying cars. So that's basically the layout of this loading area. We can get inside the warehouses too. If I can figure out how to do this. Is this how we do it? This might not be a good idea. Okay, so the roof is open. During the story, at the end of doing whatever it is we do in the warehouse, we open the roof and then we escape from the open roof. And so the roof stays open after that. Usually the roof is closed and it's a proper warehouse. There are some enemies down there, let me just take care of them real quick. Alright, we're gonna put those guys to sleep. Is it just two guys? guy there. There might be more guys. But we'll deal with them when we find them. Alright. We should get inside, just to see inside the warehouse. The warehouse is mostly just a big warehouse with the retractable roof. You can see that the structure's holding up these parts, and then the retractable roof slides along the rails. There's skylights in the parts that don't retract. Alright, let's jump down here. Into the Arasaka warehouse. Oh, there's some guards. Let me... deal with the guards. That's not a guard. I don't think that guy is gonna be too concerned about me. Alright, so inside the warehouse, we have cranes. I think those are cranes, but they don't reach into the space where the things open, so I'm not sure how useful that is. Like this, you see what those are, right? Like those things, and then the wires hang down. I think those are cranes. But in order for them to be useful, they have to reach into these spaces. In here we have parade floats, or bits of parade floats. Like this one here. So in the game there is a parade. And the parade is flying parade floats that slowly drift across the sky, right? And so that's why the roof's open, so you might be wondering, like, how do these giant parade floats, how do they leave the warehouse? Because the doors are way too small. So they don't leave by the door, they leave by the roof. You open the whole roof up and they fly up and out. This one is probably a spare. We have vaguely Japanese-looking ornamentations on the parade float. And over there we have like a thing that's like a building, a traditional Japanese temple or something with a statue inside. So these are all for display only. Right, giant head. And that's pretty much it. It's a big warehouse. Not too much to say about the big warehouses. Yeah, like these containers, how do they move these around? The cranes are in there, but the cranes don't reach into these places. Maybe they do, right? Maybe when the roofs close, the cranes, I don't know, doesn't really make sense. So how would you do this? You would need a crane that's on rails. And we've seen them in other parts of the game where you have like a crane that can move back and forth. And so then when the roof retracts, then the crane would move to the side out of the way. Or they can move in and then they can pick up the containers and then move them back and forth. So you need cranes that can move. Whereas these cranes, if that's what they are, they only move along this way, like that way, and they don't move into there, so that doesn't make any sense. Not a big deal, it's just a minor oversight. Alright, we should get out of here. I'm not gonna look into... There's a lot of smaller rooms back here. I think there are more enemies back there, so I don't wanna get caught or anything. But there's like spaces back here. Oh, that's a guard. Hallways, offices, and other things inside there. And then there's a security tower as well. Alright, let's jump back out. wanna get over here. And hop out. Let me stay up here for a while. So on the other side, so there's containers down there. And we get a different angle on this logistics area. On this side, it looks like we have ventilation equipment. Ventilation equipment, and then we have container yard. And there are roads connecting those. And back here is a different angle on the logistics area. So the trucks come in here, and they go through and they go out that way, right? So that's what that looks like. That's a bit of a security station, I think. Alright, and that's that. Let's get out of here. Try not to get shot at, and try not to fall to our deaths. Right, the intended path is to come down the ladder. And then carefully make our way down. I might just drop off here. So this is the river channel. As I said, probably leads to the dam there. Over that way, it disappears into the ground. Let me just run over here, show you real quick. Real quick, I say. It does go quite far, though. So over in that direction, there's some pipes leading underground. So over there, the river disappears underground into those pipes. Not that there's any water going through anymore, right? So, like, I keep calling it a river, and not like a drainage ditch. In some big cities, natural rivers would be reinforced like this. Especially in places where it's densely populated, or there's a lot of factories nearby. Alright, making our way back out. Over there is Rancho Coronado, I believe, so I'm not gonna go over there. That's gonna be next video. I'm gonna walk this way. Over here we have another building under construction. This might be another Arasaka building going up. I mean, it's in the general vicinity, right? Again, the construction site allows us to see construction methods.
We got to fight for what's ours. Band together.
This one is concrete.
Can't just unautomate our jobs here. They want to put robots in, they will. Sooner or later.
We have scaffolding on the outside, and then the actual structure is reinforced concrete. Again, no beams. I don't know why they never put in beams. By beams, I mean you have columns, you have beams, and then you have the concrete slab on top. Beams are important, right? Because your structure, if you just have long columns, they get a bit wobbly. So the beams tie them together so they're more rigid. And I don't know why, but these guys keep forgetting their beams. On the inside there's a huge atrium in the middle, although I don't know if it is an atrium or some sort of space for some industrial machinery. Because if you think about it, these spaces around the outside is quite small. Barely big enough for a small office. So if it's an office tower and there's a huge atrium, there's basically no office space. There's no room for a lot of offices. So this could be an industrial building and there could be some sort of big machine that goes in here. I don't know. Can't really tell. So this is like a rubbish chute. You dump things out here. And it's inside the chute so you don't accidentally hit somebody else. Like you don't just chuck rubbish that high. Right, you gotta put it in the tube. And it comes down here. We're really missing like concrete mixing. So the building's not finished, it's still under construction. You would probably have a concrete mixer on the ground and then a big tube with a big pump, and you pump the concrete up to wherever you need it. You might do that, or you might mix it up there, but I don't think that's efficient. Depends on what kind of equipment you have available. There is an elevator here. We won't take the elevator. There's graffiti, I don't know how that works. This thing is still under construction, there's already graffiti on the walls. What can we say about this? Not much. There's bags of concrete, as you can see, but no concrete mixer. Oh, so you don't really know what they're doing, right? Like, what are you doing with the bags of concrete? With a small concrete structure, you can probably mix the concrete by hand and it'll be good enough. But as your building gets taller and taller, the concrete needs to be higher quality to hold up all that weight, right? And so you would want the concrete to be mixed in a more controlled way. And that's why you would use a mechanical concrete mixer. And not just a cheap one either, but a good quality one, to make sure that you're making good concrete. Because you have to like get the right proportions of water and cement and aggregate, and it has to be, ideally it's the right temperature, and you also mix it for the right amount of time, and you gotta make sure you pour it before it starts to set, otherwise the strength is not there. So a multi-story concrete building, you really need to know what you're doing with the concrete. You need to be experienced. And you need to have the right machinery. Again, we have these big steel beams on the inside. How are you gonna get these out of here? You're never getting these out of here. How are you gonna move this? Do you know how heavy this stuff is? I mean, look, you have artists making a construction site, but they've never actually done construction before. They've never built a building before, so they don't know that you can't have a giant steel beam in a place where you can't fit a crane. And again, like this stuff, you can put that on a forklift and just get that out of here. Bags of cement, like you can get a couple of guys and just lift bags of cement, right? You can just move them one bag at a time. It's not pleasant, but you can do it. The steel beam, you really can't. Okay, let's keep going up. And up. And then we get to here. That looks a bit flimsy. But the idea is you're holding up that, and that's the formwork. And then you pour the concrete slab on top of the formwork, right? So you temporarily hold this up while you're pouring the concrete above. Except there's no actual formwork, it's just a slab of concrete. Not sure what's going on with there. So this is formwork. Formwork is the thing that you use to hold the liquid concrete. Concrete is liquid when you first mix it. You pour it into the shape and then you let it set, and then you remove the formwork, and then you have the shape of the column. So the formwork is, you know, the stuff that you hold the liquid in, and while you wait for it to set. And so here, if it's a concrete floor and you're pouring the concrete floor, then you need formwork. And I guess the yellow beams are supposed to hold the horizontal formwork, and then you horizontal formwork, and then you pour it in. Except there's no formwork here, which is a bit strange. And you can see how there's reinforcing. Oh, there you go. Look at that. There's reinforcing there, and then they've poured the don't fall down. They've poured the concrete into there. So they've shown this partially finished, but in a real construction site, you wouldn't do this. You would build one floor at a time. You're not gonna have like half a floor and then build the next quarter of a floor and then not finish the other half first. Because the whole structure, it's a connected system. Like the columns are not just by themselves. The columns and the beams and the floor, they work together, because a column by itself, you can wriggle it. So it's not that rigid, but when you have a cross beam holding the two columns together, then it's more rigid, right? Because they're braced against each other by the beams. And so, you know, like they work together, and so you would like build the whole floor and make sure everything is connected before you build the next floor. Like you don't just you don't do this. You don't like build half a floor, leave this unfinished, and then start building the next one, because that's not strong enough actually to hold that up. It's not like laterally, it's not braced. So you don't just do, when you build a building, you don't randomly build bits. Like you actually have a specific sequence that you need to follow. There's a robot here, but it's not clear what kind of robot it is. If it's a concrete pouring robot, then where's the concrete, right? Like a concrete pouring robot, there'll be a tube and there'll be a pump at the other end. You're pumping the concrete up, and then the robot arm would move along and pour the concrete. So that's how you do that, but you don't really need to do that. You can do that with a crane. And the concrete is fluid anyways, so you just pour it and it fills the space. You don't really need to move it that much. So you don't really need a robot to pour concrete. You might have a welding machine, like a robot that welds the steel, but none of the steel is being welded. I don't think that's being welded. I'm not sure what that's doing. I mean, you need to inspect the concrete, but you don't need a robot to do that. I don't think this robot does anything. And it doesn't have any wheels, so it doesn't move. I think the robot is just for decoration, and I don't think anybody really thought about what this robot is supposed to do. And remember that this kind of concrete construction, it's the kind of thing that we do in our world all the time, and we don't have robots on a construction site like this. Right, so this is superfluous. How would you use a concrete pouring robot? Maybe like in spaces where a crane would have difficulty reaching. But even then, I mean, I don't see like, no, it would be something completely different. Like if you wanna, like the robot doesn't really provide anything new that we can't already do with just a bunch of dudes, right? Yeah, I don't know. Welding, possibly welding, because welding, if it's steel and you're welding is very precise work, right? You have like two bits of steel and you're like melting it together. Like you have to know what you're doing. And maybe when you're welding, the robot welder would be more precise. Or, I mean, it can do heavier stuff. And maybe the robot is also more precise. So maybe like for welding, you might have a welding robot. Maybe. Alright, let's keep moving. I think the robot is just a red herring. I don't think it means anything. It's just there to look cool. Is there anything else we need to say about this? Not really. So yeah, in terms of construction technology, this is very ordinary stuff. There's nothing high-tech here at all. And remember that this is an Arasaka facility, right? Arasaka is one of the most advanced technology companies in the world of Cyberpunk. And yet their architecture is very ordinary, like they're not doing anything special here. Oh, the walls. According to this, the walls are concrete block infill in between the concrete columns, and then they put a thin layer of concrete on the sides, I guess. Even this is very low tech. They don't even pour the concrete walls, it's just concrete block. It's very low tech. And so the robot doesn't really do anything here because everything here is so low tech, you don't need a robot to do this. Anyway, I've said this before. In this world, the weapons are very advanced, but the architecture and the culture is very anachronistic, very primitive. Because everything is focused on war, right? Okay, let's get back out. And we need to get back onto the road. So here, there's a little bridge above there. I guess that's the security perimeter. Although this is a public road, it does bridge over to that one. There's an Arasaka tower. You see there's like an aerial vehicle landing pad up there on the side of the Arasaka tower. So that's for the flying cars, right? Aside from that, we can't really read anything into the tower. We have no idea what it is or what might happen in it. I assume it's some kind of office tower, but you never know. Oh, Militech, right. Before I forget, there's a Militech facility there. But you know, compared to the Arasaka facility, the Militech facility is much less sophisticated. Looks pretty low tech, and in fact it doesn't look very big. So we have Kang Tao, Militech, Arasaka, DTR, Petrochem. So all these megacorps have their facilities around here. Arasaka looks like they're the most advanced, and they're onto it. But Militech does have a presence here as well. Not sure what any of these buildings are, but I guess the Militechs are doing something here, right? Okay, back to Arasaka. Here's the entrance into their tower. It's close to us, but it would be there. It's close to us, but that's not gonna stop me. Because back there, there's a bit of a garden, and we should look at the garden. Alright, let me get past. I think there are some guards. Try not to get caught by the guards. Let me get up here, and then let me jump across. Alright, let me just check where the guards are. There's guards are over there. Don't think there's anyone here. Okay. So I think we can see a pattern by now. All the Japanese megacorps beside their offices, they have gardens. That's probably just a thing in the game. Something about Japanese culture and valuing aesthetics, right? So we have some aerial vehicle landing pads as before. I guess the executives, they land here and then they walk through the garden to get into their office. So that's kind of nice. We have the path framed by trees on each side. Very nice. And then the path comes out this way. There's a guy lying on the ground. I think he's... No, he's not dead. He's unconscious. We can continue going that way, but that's where the guards are. The path turns this way over a bridge. Oh, very picturesque. Over a bridge. And then there's like low grass on either side. And then you go into the building. It's very pleasant. I mean, it's like a... I mean, you get the impression that these Japanese guys, they can't live without beauty. But in a city like Night City, there's no beauty to be found, right? So they have to build their own. So they build their own little beautiful garden. Ward off from the rest of Night City, from the disaster that is Night City. Alright, let's see how the view is here. Like, you have seats. Oh yeah. Contemplate that tree there. Very cool. This garden. How's this? How's this? Ah, yes. Contemplate. Well, I mean, the tree's too big. So I've talked about how Japanese garden design, you want to frame the view, like have a specific landscape view. So imagine if that tree was smaller, and then if the trees behind were bigger, and then maybe like in between there was more stuff. So there's mid-ground, foreground, mid-ground, and background. Yeah, I mean, they're not really trying that hard. Almost. You almost have a really good... Because there's enough space back there, look at that. There's so much depth back here, you can really make a good Japanese garden here. But you need to put more stuff back here. And there's water too. Yeah, no. You would try to use the water as well. If you want to set up this view, right? There's some vertical stones, I believe. Vertical stones back there. You might have like decorative stones to like make a pretty landscape painting. The water's here, but the water's not incorporated into the view. Yeah, no, it's not very well done. What is going on with the standing stones anyway? Not doing anything, just standing there? Yeah, no, look. Okay, look, Japanese garden design. Every single element, you need to think about what it's doing and why it's doing that. What are those standing stones doing? Nothing. Like, who is meant to look at them? Nobody. There's no seat here, like there's no position where you're supposed to just stand and look. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not very well thought out. Not very well thought through. Okay, let's get out of here. I mean, I don't want to complain too much, because you're not supposed to be there anyway. There's a big wall around it, right? You're not supposed to be able to get in there. I'm just going out of bounds. I shouldn't do that. I should not go out of bounds and complain about the things that are out of bounds. Because if it's out of bounds, you're not supposed to be there. Okay, you know what? I take all of that back. Over there we have a cyber matrix factory. It's completely blank, just a big concrete box. Can't really see what's going on. Let me just get a bit closer. A cyber matrix factory. Yeah, no, there's nothing to see there. over on this side we have a Kendachi facility. It looks like a warehouse, maybe a small factory, some kind of workshop. Although again, I'm not sure how much it's being used. I don't think it's being operated by Kendachi. Who are these guys? 6th Street Gang. Yeah, no, that's a gang. I think the Kendachi facility has been taken over by a gang. Out here at the edge of Arroyo. And then over here we have a lot of roads. Not too much to say about all these roads. This goes all the way to Rancho Coronado. On the other side of the road, we have a construction site, and if you pay attention, the logo on the side of the construction site says Militech. So there was a Militech facility a little further back, but here we have a large construction site. Can I get up there? Ah, no we can't. So it looks like Militech is really moving in a big way, right? With big cranes. They haven't gotten past the foundations yet, but they're almost there. So we have big concrete columns, and then we have more big concrete columns. So judging by the size of those columns, I think we're looking at maybe anything from like 5 to 10 stories, approximately. So it's gonna be a big facility. You know, in the scale of the other buildings in Arroyo, like we're looking at like big buildings. The cranes haven't gone up very high though. That thing, I don't know what that crane's doing there. That crane's sitting in the footprint of the building, so it's blocking the building. So that crane's completely wrong. But these other cranes are okay, maybe. What's going on there? There's some steel beams. That's not how that works. That's not how reinforced concrete works. I just want to see inside the construction site if I can. Oh, what's going on here? There's a gate. Oh, there you go. Yeah, no, look at that. Look at the size of that facility. Right? So Militech is gonna build themselves a big factory out here at the edge of Arroyo. Right next to Arasaka. Alright, cool. And then out here we have a container yard. Let me follow the road. At the very edge of Arroyo, we have a container yard, and there's big cranes. And I guess that's where they load and unload the trucks. There's no train tracks, right? Let me just check. No, this is a road for trucks. Right, so there's no train tracks or anything, it's just for trucks. Those cranes are huge. So it's a road port. And the same thing over there. Right, you have logistics. Trucks loading and unloading. The containers. Right, the cranes pick them up and move them to the side, like this. Oh, I didn't mean to fall down the other side.
Saw something.
Oh, what's going on? Okay. Really?
Say hello to my little friend, bitch!
No, they want to fight. So this is the road port. Not too much going on, huh? I mean, there's a few warehouses there, not very big. Some containers and cranes here. Oh, there's more warehouses down there too. So I guess this is storage. Not sure who uses this storage. But there's a lot of it. Alright, and that is the end of our little walk around Arroyo. As we said at the start, it is an industrial district where the megacorps have set up their industrial facilities. There's a prison, and the prison. There are 2 mega buildings, there's number 4 and number 6. Implying that a lot of people live here and they work in the factories. Although we're not sure, right? Because we don't see a lot of people. It's implied there's a lot of people. We have Petrochem, DTR, Kang Tao, Militech, Arasaka, and they each have their own facilities out here. Some of them are still under construction. And that's it, Arroyo. Big industrial district to the south of the city. Okay, so that's it for today. Next time, we are going that way, and we are going to look at the district of Rancho Coronado, which is this big thing down here. So that was Arroyo, and that's Rancho Coronado. Alright, see you next time.